Hi everyone. So, where do I find myself? And I want to explain this because this is the magic of not knowing where I go, not having any plan, just going with the flow, trying to find the codes. So I think that the first important thing that I want to share is how do you find the codes from the I don't know? So usually we are programmed to believe that in order to do something, we have to know something. We have to know what we're going to do, know exactly what the plan is, but actually the best way to create for the universe is not knowing, because it has no expectation. That's why it's so important not to know, but to be open to all the knowledge as possible. So I only marked one point where I wanted to go, which is the abandoned city. And I wanted to know why this was in Famagusta. And I also explained to you that all the tasks that we did in the Greek side was about the apples and the honey, which is the three goddesses. And I said, when I crossed to this side, to the Turkish side, it would be all about the snake. So I said, snake, find me. So all this question, just that question, like snake, lead me, took me into all this deep dive into history that took me to this place here, which is the Cathedral of San Nicolas. So who was the snake? So we're gonna go very back in time to understand this. So the snake is a symbol that represents Kundalini. So, so the Kundalini is actually electricity. It's the electricity that moves through the spine and creates the shape of a snake. So basically the idea of the Kundalini related to a snake is basically the electricity of a body following the spiral of the nervous system. And the apple represents the toroid. And the torus, the toroid, is activated in your head with the shape of an apple. So this means that the apple can only be activated or created if the snake activates itself. So the snake, which is the electricity, activates the magnetical field, which is the apple. So what story do we know about the snake and the apple? So the snake is the one that gives the energy to activate the magnetical field of the apple. But what happens if the north of the apple is moved in the wrong angle, so it's not positioned correctly? It means that the snake, which is the electricity, will blow all the systems, which is the poison. Remember that when we were in Armenia, I said to you that man, it's an Indo-European language that means thought. So a thought is a man. So remember that I said that woman comes from womb and thought. So the thought that creates. So this means that the woman, the feminine body, is the one that can generate that creation, or that system of creation, and correct the north. So if the woman, which is the thought of creation, is in the wrong angle, which is pointing into a different direction, suddenly the electromagnetical field is broken, and that's the poison of creation. So it's a mistake, a sin, let's say. It's not like a story that is real. It's actually describing a process of particles and electromagnetism, basically. I thought was walking through. So if we are a reflection of Earth, the same way we have our own electromagnetical field, our snake and our torus, our toroid, it's also on planet. But this is not this is not only something that is in one side of the planet, it's everywhere in the planet, and it replicates itself like a fractalization everywhere. So remember that I described the snake starting in Turkey, the head of the snake, of the Kundalini in Turkey, and it goes through Iran, through Afghanistan, Pakistan, Tibet, Siberia, and all the Americas until Patagonia. So that would be the snake all around the planet. So basically this represents the electricity, which is the wisdom, the energy that empowers the being. So from the head of the snake, the Mount Taurus, which is all the mountains in the south of Turkey, from there the Taurus is activated and it goes up like a magnetical field to the North Pole, surrounded the entire planet. So that's why this region is so important, in this territory where all the forces are combined. So the electromagnetic field of the entire Earth is being, or has to be, reorganized in all this territory. It's like the engine, the machine of the electromagnetic field where it's allocated. So what is the thing with the snake? It represents wisdom, represents acknowledgement, represents who you are as an empowered being. And that energy is in the Turkish side, in the Anatolia part, in Turkey. So the power of the inner knowledge. So what the system does is to turn the snake into the evil one when they try to control your power of creation and your power of self. So if you notice, like in history, all the divinities like Asclepius, Hermes, Thoth, Ishtar, Astarte, all of them use the symbol of the snake as power of wisdom. So when the man, the thought, only the thought without the power of creation takes control of the system, then the snake becomes the symbol of the bad one. And that's when the image of the enemy of God shows up. So the symbolism of a God that has the snake as the enemy is because I have power upon this world, basically. But God and us, we are all together this world. So when in history we turn the snake into the evil one, suddenly what we do is to empower the idea of an enemy that takes the power of our own creation away. So at one point, the inner fire gets together with the air, creating this spiral. So air and fire becomes one as a spiral. When do that happen? That happens when you take a deep breath and you bring the air to the diaphragm and you connect the inner fire from below with the fresh air from above, and then you generate an infinite power that comes out as a word, the creation. To that we used to call Naga. So what is that symbolism? It's half woman, half snake. So this name, this concept will be called in Middle East as Lilitu, which comes from Lil, which is air, and the feminine side, tu. So Lilitu is the air that becomes a snake. So basically it represents a witch that creates through the word. Abracadabra. So basically it's the word abracadabra. So this is the ancient way in which the humans used to connect with God instead of being under God. That's why one of the things that the Weaver says when I connect with it is, don't you understand, only understand. So this takes me to, who is that snake? So the name of this snake was Melinusa, and Melinusa is a concept of a snake that gives wisdom through fresh water. And the name of this snake, which is Melinusa, comes from mel or melasa, which is honey, sweet. And this is a name, a symbol that has been replicated in the Mediterranean Sea and Europe. So in the stories of these traditions, they say that this woman snake used to search for men to deliver wisdom to them. So when they deliver wisdom to them, they knew that they had power. So with wisdom, they could expand and have much more power. So exactly like in the story of Lilith and Adam. So I will put the names after, because I don't remember the names. And one of these stories of the Melinusa ends up in France. So this Melinusa is like one of the main and first fairies originated in Europe, that gives the origin to the Celtic traditions too. Yeah. And apparently the story says that this Melinusa was in the center of France. So this woman snake, they say in the tradition that she showed up to a man in a tiny village called Lumian. So who is Lumian? So who is this family? This village, one of the main families that will appear, the House of the Lumian, will be one of the most important families in the Middle East during the Crusades, which is in between the 1100 till 1300 and something. What happened with this family? So then you have to investigate this story, because I don't know all the details. So one of the things that happened with this family is that they come as crusaders to the Holy Land. So what happens is that one of these crusaders of the Lumian ends up being married with one of the queens of Jerusalem. So one of the things that the King of England, Richard Lionheart, one of the first things that he does when he's trying to regain Jerusalem and be close to Jerusalem is to take over Cyprus. And then when Jerusalem falls under the Arab power, what happened is that the Lumian family ends up in Cyprus, here. So there were only 3 Christian holy lands, or 3 Christian reigns in this land, in this Middle East, which was the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the Kingdom of Armenia, and the Kingdom of Cyprus. Okay. So here in this place, what happened is that during the fall of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, because of the Arabs, and the fall of the Kingdom of Armenia in Anatolia, what happened is that the 3 crowns fall upon the Lumian here in Cyprus. So suddenly the king, only one king, had 3 crowns. One from the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the other one of the Kingdom of Armenia, and the other one of the Kingdom of Cyprus. So who is this king that is the king of 3 falling or 3 inexistent kingdoms in that time? Was the Lumician, the French guy, that was a direct descendant of this Naga, of this Melusina, of this snake. So the coronation of these 3 kingdoms was done here in the St. Nicholas Cathedral. So the amazing thing here is that in this story, the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the Kingdom of Armenia, and the Kingdom of Cyprus they represented a holy trinity of 3 crowns for only one king, which is one ruler, one law. So in that side, we were working with the holy trinity of the 3 apples, the 3 goddesses. And here in this side, the 3 kingdoms related to the masculine. So what do? They create the symbol of Metatron, which is the Star of David. And basically the electromagnetic field. So remember that in the message in Armenia was like there's a queen and a king inside your head. So when you connect both of them, you create Metatron, and suddenly both of them are activated. And here is the UN in between Turkey and Greece. So the UN is in the middle, which means all the world is depending on this broken system of electromagnetism. So there's so much more, but I'm gonna go now to the next stop because there's so much more to reveal for sure. So thank you all for making company. So research this story, search for it, go yourself into the rabbit hole, find out by yourself. And of course, then write down in the comments whatever you found out, because I'm reading them, so I can also research, or maybe I missed some part of the story. So please research and put in the comments, and that's it. Keep going. Bye.